All right, welcome back. In this matchup of the Grand Prix Rome for Magic Set Editor Modern, we have Dodger on Black-Red Unearth. He'll be on the play up against a Temur Flash list from that damn Pipsqueak. So I've seen this matchup in practice, and it looks relatively hard for the Black-Red side, but it really just depends on whether or not you play around the right stuff. I think Dodger, if anyone can pull off this victory, it's Dodger. He has so much practice in this matchup, because he has so much practice with this deck and has practiced against Pip a bunch. So I think this is going to be a pretty exciting matchup. These two decks are both very interactive, very interesting, take different lines than each other aggressively, but do so in exciting ways. So we've got a 6-land hand that Dodger's going to keep. And then he's currently deciding what he's going to send back, and then if he's going to pick up his first mate. So in his sideboard, he has Hugo of the Alvarez, or Hugo of the Huntsman, rather. In his... That's not the ship Hugo's from. He has Hugo of whichever ship Hugo's from. You'd think I would remember, given I designed the card. Hugo of the Shadow Staff, that's it. In Dodger's sideboard is Hugo of the Shadow Staff, and all of the cards in Dodger's deck cost either 1 mana or 3 mana. So he's currently deciding if he's going to exchange a card in his hand for Hugo at the start of this game, or if he's going to leave Hugo in the sideboard. Meanwhile, Pipsqueak has kept a 7-card hand, 2 lands, both of them pain lands, but blue-green and a blue-red, which means she can cast all of her spells. And as you can see, none of these cost more than 2, so every spell in this hand is currently castable by Pipsqueak. On Dodger's side, the game is going to be a little different. He has Ambitious Necromancer, which will let him reanimate all of his 3-drops. Looks like he's going to send Blood Jade Prophet back to the bottom. Then Performer of Ambition, which I assume will end up in the graveyard to this Gift of the Phoenix. Then probably Fiery Temper is going to shoot. It's going to be... There are a lot of lines that we're going to see. Fiery Temper is going into the sideboard. Dodger's going to pick up Hugo. And the games will begin. So Dodger is on the play as the higher seed in the top 9 bracket. And Dodger knows better than I do what the best line is between Ambitious Necromancer and Gift on turn 1, but I have to assume one of these 2 cards is about to get cast. Dodger's going to shock, fetch what I assume will be a basic Swamp here, and cast Ambitious Necromancer. So there's already a little board presence for him. Unfortunately, we know it's probably going to die to one of these 2 burn spells. Dodger probably has to know that too. Land from Pip and pass the turn. The only spell she's representing right now is Cosmic Sinkhole, but she does have it. So this is already an interesting turn for Dodger. My best guess is it's going to be a Deformed Sanity. But you could theoretically just run out Hugo and start to try to get in there. Hugo will, of course, eat the Cosmic Sinkhole. Deformed Sanity will be able to take it without being countered, because Cosmic Sinkhole is, at this point, just for Spike. But, again, who knows what the best line is here, except possibly Dodger. So we're going to find out. Yeah, there's the Deformed Sanity, pitching Performer of Ambition. Nothing for Pip to do here except just take it. No reason to discard the Cosmic Sinkhole and take a life. Because Ambitious Necromancer triggers after Deformed Sanity's cost has been paid, Performer of Ambition is already in the graveyard, so Necromancer is able to reanimate the Performer. Dodger sees a handful of very, very dangerous spells in Pip's clutch. And I have no idea what he's going to take, to be honest. I don't even know what I would take in this situation. Dodger now has perfect information, and he knows that this Performer of Ambition is going to die next turn. So maybe you take... Maybe, I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe... Yeah, Dodger's tanking, I'm tanking. He's gonna, while he watches this bag, realize that I have less of an idea than he does on what to take here. In his situation, I guess I probably take the Cane Dancer. The Cane Dancer is just another copy of Portal Fracture or Ignition Point. So unless Dodger is really scared of Cosmic Sinkhole here, I think Cane Dancer is what I would take. The Rogger's Frenzies, there's redundancy in Pip's hand, and they have value from the graveyard. So he's going to take the Sinkhole. I think that's fair too. Basically putting Pip on draw 2 lands or resort to casting 1 spell per turn is a fair line. I'd be a little scared of the Cane Dancer just getting some... basically just being whatever it is that Pip wants to cast next. But I can see taking the Sinkhole as well. Gift of the Phoenix discards Hugo, picks up another Deformed Sanity and a Dusk Lieutenant. So if Dodger can get the Dusk Lieutenant on the battlefield and going a little bit, things could get out of hand for Pip. But look at this hand for Pip. She's just got 6 2-mana spells and 2 lands to cast them with. So she's just going to pass here. I assume that she's basically just going to make sure Performer of Ambition doesn't flip, and then kill it, or kill the Necromancer if she gets the window, so that the Necromancer can never bring back the Performer again. We know that Dodger has another Deform. That can pitch this Dusk Lieutenant if he wants, and then pick it back up with the Necromancer. Looks like that's the line he's going to take. So I would expect to see this Performer die in response here, and probably to the Ignition Point. It'll be interesting to see which spell Pip decides to cast. Nah, she's just going to let Dodger do whatever he wants, it looks like. Dusk Lieutenant comes into play. An Omen is made. And yeah, Pip's not going to respond to the Sanity. There's so much redundancy in her hand. Might as well just let Dodger take whatever he wants. This Performer definitely does not get to attack, though. That much is for sure. Yeah, now Dodger's going to take the Cane Dancer, which is what I would have taken last turn. Either way, I think I probably would have taken the Sinkhole this turn, so it would be in the same spot. Rogger's Frenzy is going to kill the Performer, and Pip's going to take 1 damage. And then I would imagine Pip untaps, kills the Dusk Lieutenant, and Dodger is officially top decking. Pip draws a Void Flare, which would be interesting if she had 1 more land. I think she could just basically ice the game right here and right now. Unfortunately, she still only got the 2, so it's going to be Rogger's Frenzy on the Necromancer. I think I still... Well, I guess, depending on what Dodger draws here, Pip wants to make sure she doesn't get too outvalued by the Necromancer. That's fair. With the 2 Pain lands in play, I'd be a little worried about my life total and going down to 10 with this Dusk Lieutenant hit. Dodger's going to sacrifice an Omen, discard a card, make Pip discard a card, she discards the Portal Fracture, and Dodger picks up a Deformed Sanity, which he cannot cast because it requires you to discard a non-land card to cast it. Pip's going to go to 10, and at this point, the Void Flare on the Dusk Lieutenant, it doesn't really ice the game because Pip has missed on land, so this bounty is not going to be that impressive. But Dodger really does have to draw something. That's something. Unearth is a good card. Unearth is the reason this deck exists. And I expect we're going to see Dodger pull back. Well, it's actually interesting. Do we think we see him pull back Dusk Lieutenant or Performer of Ambition, knowing Ignition Point is in hand? I think maybe knowing the Ignition Point is there, you pull back the Dusk Lieutenant just so that you have the Omen to sacrifice. But it's possible that you just take the biggest card and accept that it's going to die. Nah, it's going to take the Dusk Lieutenant. Yeah, I think that's the right call. This means that you get the Omen no matter what. Spell Stutter. I'm not even sure why Pip Spell Stuttered that. I'd like to hear from her on that. Maybe she's just scared of this last card in hand. Wants to force Dodger to tap out here. But he only had the one card, so he couldn't even really discard anything. It's not like he has a bunch of cards that discard for their own value. Pip's going to go down to 6 here to Ignition Point away at the Dusk Lieutenant. Or I suppose just cast a Bounty and block with it. All that seems much worse because you need the clock. Not drawing into any lands and having only 2 pain lands as your mana sources makes this draw from Pip look a lot worse than I think it was. She's asking chat, maybe it was sketch. I think this was a great keep. And I think that missing lands over and over again has made this a very, very rough draw in a way that it didn't need to be. Dodger just picks up a Performer of Ambition naturally. And he's just going to be able to cast it and then likely next turn flip it. Pip doesn't have an answer to it in hand, so she's going to have to draw a Cane Dancer or another burn spell. And you have to imagine this is the turn where Pipsqueak draws a land, right? That's how these games always go. Yep, there's the land. And so Pip is, I think, really just dead to the Performer. She can block it for a turn with Prodigious Panya, but it's going to flip into, well, here I'll show everybody. Performer of Ambition. Oh, I can't. Transforms into the Urchin King, which is a creature that gets +1/+1 for each card in graveyards, which will make this a whopping, or is it each non-land card? Well, we're about to find out. Probably. It's possible that Dodger just jams the Oil Driller here. Well, I don't know. We're going to find out what he does. In the meantime, let's look up what the Urchin King does so that I get it right the first time. Well, I guess the second time. Power and toughness each equal to the number of cards in all graveyards, yes. Which is currently 18. So that will be an 18/18. And then it has another line of text, which is less relevant. Dodger's going to play an Oil Driller here. Little does he know, he doesn't really need to. It's going to salvage a Hostile Dunes and a Deformed Sanity. So pretty bad salvages, but it doesn't matter. This game's pretty much iced for Dodger here. Pip's going to get to double chump block in the face of an 18, well now a 16/16, and even get trampled over for a little bit by the Oil Driller. And in fact, I think she just dies to the Pain Lands. I guess not quite. She's going to go down to 2 life, and then the Oil Driller is going to trample over for 1. Urchin King attacks as an 18/18. Panya's going to chump that. Oil Driller dies, but it was going to die anyways. Dodger gets to pick up whichever of these cards he cares about. And then I don't think Pip has an answer to the Urchin King. So this game's just over, and we're going to go to game 2. While these last couple of game actions play out, let's go ahead and take a look at some sideboards. So Dodger sideboard has 4 Ruinous Proselytes. I think that's probably not what you bring in here. I think expecting to get the slow land destruction strategy against the low to the ground flash deck is probably not going to pan out. 3 Stolen Secrets I think probably do come in. Taking out Instants before Pip gets a chance to play them is a very big game. Cold Graves I don't like. Bearer of the Lantern maybe, but in a deck that can't cast them, this really isn't the burn matchup you bring those in. So I think you're probably just bringing in the Stolen Secrets. Cutting... I don't know what this deck's best cuts are. Shengin Renegade maybe? That card's not very good. I think I'd probably cut 3 Shengin Renegade, put in 3 Stolen Secrets, and call it a day. Meanwhile, that damn Pipsqueak Has 2 Markarth Assailants in the sideboard. I don't think this is the matchup those are for. I think those are probably to go face to finish someone off in a long game. This deck is too aggressive. The 4 Still the Pandemoniums just suck in the face of the 3-drop creatures. I don't think you can do that. Convert to Resources doesn't get there. Shaldrain's Rage maybe gets there. 3 Sunken Ambitions kind of get there. So I think maybe you bring in a little bit of the bounce, which helps you reset the performers, and can also kind of goof with Oil Drillers. You probably cut the Find Nothings here. This isn't really a matchup where Find Nothing's getting a lot of value. Everything else seems pretty solid. Maybe... No, you probably... I actually don't know about the Tamios. I think you probably cut the Find Nothings, put in the Sunken Ambitions, maybe a Shaldrain's Rage, call it a day. Not much sideboarding here. So Pip is on the play. Both players keep 7. Dodger does not pick up the Hugo. So Pip's going to shock herself, and Dodger is going to start by discarding Schengen Renegade to draw 2 cards, and picks up a Distant Thunder and a Deformed Sanity. So Dodger's deck is doing what Dodger's deck does. Let's see if Pip's deck does what Pip's deck does. You see Shaldrain's Rage here, so she did bring in at least one of those. And she's now drawing all of her lands to make up for the fact that she didn't get any last game. Magic is a zero-sum game, that's for sure. So Dodger has a couple of interesting lines here. The question is, which is best in the face of 2 untapped mana on Pip's side? You know she's not representing Bounty. She doesn't have a green untapped, so she's representing something. And we know it's burn and counter spells both. She can't counter a 2-mana spell, but Dodger doesn't have any. She can't counter a 3-mana spell, but Dodger only has 2 lands. So she'll be able to counter whatever the first thing is that Dodger tries to play this turn, which it looks like is going to be... Oh, he's going to revive the Schengen Renegade by pitching Performer of Ambition. And then pass the turn. So his goal here, I think, is to just brick Pip's turn. I think she'll probably kill the Schengen Renegade with a Rogger's Frenzy. I think you gotta hold the Veilborn Meddlers. Nah, she's just not going to do anything. I think that's fair. And there she goes. She draws a 6th land for this game. So now she has enough lands in hand to cast all of her spells in the same turn, which is what the deck is built to do in no way. So now Dodger has a bunch of interesting lines he can take. Does he choose to Deform Sanity, pitching the Fiery Temper? Does he choose to Deform Sanity or just Distant Thunder? Does he go for the Necromancer first? You know, none of these are good lines, but he does have lines. I think probably you just got to try the Necromancer, run it into the Veilborn Meddler, and accept that it's just going to eat it. You can kill the Veilborn Meddler afterwards so that it doesn't grow out of hand. But I think you got to try to start making some plays, because otherwise you're just kind of treading water. Dodger's going to shock himself with the Hostile Dunes, and the attack first is totally fine. Maybe you'll bait some burnout from Pip. I don't think you will. I think it would be a big mistake for Pip to bolt this in response. But it's basically free damage. Now Dodger's in the tank. He seems to be realizing something. I wonder what. The world may never know. I still think you got to start Necromancer here. No, he's just going to do nothing. So he's leaving up Distant Thunder and Fiery Temper. He's going to be able to burn Pip for 6 or burn out a creature if Pip decides to play one here. I think the best play for Pip is just to get this token off the board. Dodger doesn't really have a lot of proactive stuff that he can do at instant speed. So bolting something end step isn't as bad as bolting something during combat, because Dodger doesn't have another main phase this turn. Looks like Pip's just going to continue to not do anything. I guess she's just going to try to pick up a bit of additional value off the Children's Rage. She's not really low. Gonna fetch an island with her Cataract. Oh, and not even draw land this turn. Not punished. Now she's got 4 mana, so she can kick a Sheldon's Rage or play 2 2-mana spells. This game has just become very, very difficult for Dodger to win, I think. Pip represents a clock with the bounty. It doesn't die to the burn spells Dodger's holding. He just passed his turn 3 without doing anything and drew another land. So he has the same options that he did last turn. Pip just is representing more disruption. This 3-1's not going to go the distance. I think it might just run headfirst into a bounty this turn. Maybe Dodger can burn it to death afterwards, but we're starting to look really rocky with lines like that. So Dodger's going to deform Sanity Pip and then Fiery Temper right to the dome. You have to imagine this eats the Veilborn Meddler, and it does. Which means that Dodger does have a window here where he can resolve the Ambitious Necromancer and then Distant Thunder the Veilborn Meddler, picking back up his Performer. All of these are just going to get immediately wiped by Sheldon's Rage, and Pip even has the bounty that can survive the Rage. So this is going to be, well, I assume a last-ditch effort here. That's I think is going to end up being fruitless, but we'll see if that's the line that Dodger takes, and we'll see if that's the line Pip takes in response. I think it's really, really ambitious to not... Yeah, so Pip's going to make the bounty token here. That grows the Veilborn Meddler. And it eats this 3-1. That's going to leave it open to Distant Thunder. Now, the real question is Dodger willing to 3-for-1 himself just to get this plant off the board? And in that case, I think he's just going to die to the Veilborn Meddler. But it looks like that's the line. So the Performer is going to get picked up. Not really sure what Pip's thinking about. I guess just taking a second to think. So this does put Dodger in a slightly better place than the lines that I was suggesting, because the Veilborn Meddler will die to the Sheldon's Rage. That being said, I don't imagine Pip letting this game get to a point where Dodger has the opportunity to do anything with this Performer, and the Veilborn Meddler isn't instrumental to Pip winning this game. So it looks like her plan is just to continue operating at instant speed. She's going to, I guess, kill the Performer, upkeep. Yeah, kill the Performer, upkeep. And so Dodger needs to draw something. He didn't. So this game's iced now. Pip's got the Cane Dancer to get back the bounty and is going to attack with, I don't know, 10 power now? I guess attack with 11 exactly because of the Cane Dancer. Veilborn Meddler is going to trigger twice here. Not really sure why Dodger decided to fetch there. It's possible that Point of Life could matter. It's not gonna, but it's possible. So now Pip has 2 5/5s and a 1/2 and is untapping with a Sheldron's Rage that can kill this Necromancer if she wants. I think it's probably the right play. Maybe not, actually. Knowing that your opponent could technically have instant speed interaction, I think you just slam. It's going to put Dodger to 1 health. And Pip has, well, no chance of losing, I would say. And this game has been in a position where I don't think Pip could really effectively lose for a while. Dodger would have had to run an obscene string of draws, and his plot armor is not even strong enough for that. He doesn't have enough life to pay 2 life to his hostile dunes, and will have to go out to Pip's attack, unfortunately. But that's going to bring us to game 3. So, a pretty dominant showing that round from Pip's deck. She really just dictated the control of that game, the pace of that game from turn 1. And Dodger wasn't able to ever overpower Pip's interaction suite. I was intrigued to still see the Shingen Renegades in the deck for Dodger. I'd be interested to know what he chose to sideboard, if anything. I still think that a Stolen Secrets over that Shingen Renegade probably would have behooved him that game. But it's hard to know. And I think Pip iced that game either way, especially with the running Cane Dancer draws. Dodger's pointing out that this entire Grand Prix he has been in best of 3s. That is to say, they've all gone to game 3. All of the matches are best of 3, but he has played game 3 in every single one of his matches except for the one that he intentionally drew. Dodger's going to be on the play for the final game of the semifinals here in Grand Prix Rome. Pipsqueak is keeping a hand that has 3 lands, all 3 colors, Counterspell, a couple of burn spells, and a Panya. Dodger, meanwhile, is going to exchange a land with Hugo. And then I imagine is going to Deform Sanity turn 1. Discarding Dusk Lieutenant, probably? Yeah. Alright, so Pip's going to lose probably the Sinkhole. I think that Dodger's just going to eliminate the turn 1 angle. And it means that the Dusk Lieutenant's going to survive next turn if Pip takes the Sinkhole. Although theoretically Unearth would... Oh no, sorry. I misspoke there. If Dodger takes the Sinkhole and Pip discards it, then Dusk Lieutenant probably won't survive next turn because Pip can burn it on her next turn, her turn 2. But the Sinkhole can't counter Unearth anyways because it'll only be 1 color of mana spent on it, and Unearth costs 1 mana, so Dodger will have 1 untapped, if that's the line he decided to take. He now knows that that line is probably incorrect, because the Dusk Lieutenant will just die to whichever one of Pip's burn spells she fancies. Now, it's possible Sinkhole's still the best take, because it's such a tempo-positive counterspell to be able to leave up. It counters for 1 on turn 1, 2 on turn 2, 3 on turn 3. It rarely ever gets bad, and you can leave it up alongside a burn spell on turn 3, or alongside a Panya on turn 2, or what have you. Very versatile, very powerful counterspell. Dodger's choice here is not envious. He's going to take the Rogar's Frenzy. I don't actually know why you take the Frenzy over the Ignition Point. I guess to make a Cane Dancer draw a little less devastating. But Dodger now knows that Cosmic Sinkhole is in his future. And I have to imagine we're just going to see land on Earth this turn, which Sinkhole can't prevent. Maybe because of the line Dodger was taking Frenzy and Ignition Point is functionally pretty much identical. Since Dusk Lieutenant is just going to eat it to a removal spell here anyways, most likely. It's possible that Pip's going to let the Dusk Lieutenant survive. The fourth land that she drew isn't entirely necessary, nor is the Panya. And it's possible that she wants to just hold up the counterspell, burn on end step. I think it sounds risky to do that. Dodger fetches a basic swamp with nothing to do with it. Get in Pip's head, I guess. Pip's going to tank for a second on whether or not she wants to cast the mouse. I don't think it really does anything here. But I guess theoretically better to just have it in play. Yeah, there's the Cane Dancer, which means that the Ignition Point in the graveyard could have technically given flashback by a Cane Dancer here. Main phase Ignition Point is going to kill off the Dusk Lieutenant, as I was expecting, and Dodger will likely just Precipice, Blood Jade Prophet, refuel. We know that Pip has the Cane Dancer Ignition Point to get rid of the Blood Jade Prophet once it's in play, but we're a couple of turns ahead. It looks like Dodger's going to deform Sanity, pitching the Blood Jade Prophet. I'm not a big fan of this line. It does get this Cane Dancer out of Pip's hand, but now Dodger's just playing off the top of his deck. You know, he's going to get this Hugo into play, and so he's got a 1/1, Pip has a 1/1. Dodger's 1/1 grows, Pip's 1/1 can eventually cast a Time Walk, and now Pip has a way to clear the Hugo, and Dodger's really just hoping the top of his deck is nice to him here. I guess theoretically Pip is too, but she does have Cosmic Sinkhole up for 3. And Dodger just draws a Swamp here, so he's going to have to crack this Omen. Let's see what he picks up. And he just picks up a Distant Thunder. So if the Thunder ever gets directed at Panya, Pip just responds with Sheldrin's Rage, kills the Hugo. Now, I guess theoretically, Dodger gets to grow the Hugo with Distant Thunder, which Pip should be aware of. I expect she'll probably play around that, although Sinkhole can just counter it anyways. Although, if she's tapped out to cast Sheldrin's Rage, it's going to get in, so. Ooh, Pip fetches a Forest. I have to imagine that wasn't the right play. I think you gotta get a mountain there. What do you need the second green for? Maybe she's just assuming she'll be able to outrace this Hugo. Well, she's paid off with the Wayfarer Shrine anyways. Although she doesn't play it. I'm not really sure what her plan is here. This Hugo is going to outgrow the Sheldrin's Rage. There's nothing that exciting in Pip's graveyard. So her plan is just either hold up Sinkhole or Sheldrin's Rage. So Hugo is gonna. This was weird. Watching this was weird. Hugo dies to the Sheldrin's Rage. Now Pip can't counter this Unearth. And Unearth is going to bring back probably Dusk Lieutenant. Does Dodger have a performer I didn't remember about? No, Unearth's going to bring back Blood Jade Prophet. And Dodger's Plot Armor Lets him draw the best spell in his deck right when he needed it. Bloodjade Prophet's going to come back and refill his hand a little bit. We'll see what he reveals off of it. I assume 3 sweet spells. No, actually. No sweet spells. Although a Stolen Secrets he might just take and point at Pip's hand, say instant to take the sinkhole that he has knowledge on. He's going to take the Stolen Secrets and the Deformed Sanity, which is an interesting choice. I think I probably wouldn't have taken the Deformed Secrets here, or the Deformed Sanity. Yeah, Sinkhole just counters the Stolen Secrets, just because why not? So, Pip is drawing to a couple of good outs. Cane Dancer's great here. Bounty of the Gardens is great. Reckless Frenzy is fine. This will kill the Bloodjade Prophet. She might just wait a couple turns, though. This is one of the few creatures that generates no value in play. Plus, she knows Dodger just put a Deformed Sanity into hand. So Dodger might just try to rip out this last card with Deformed Sanity. We know he knows there's no point in doing that, though. So Pip is going to... Well, I expect Pip to kill this Bloodjade Prophet and then flashback Rogar's Frenzy. Get a couple of tokens. We know Dodger's hand is just a sorcery and instant, so there's not a lot of value he can generate right now. Oh, Pip's going to go face. Interesting. So she's playing to the burn out right now. She can exile this Frenzy from her graveyard right now, get a couple of 1/1s, and all of a sudden Dodger's at 4 health if she attacks in, 4 life. We'll see. You know, Dodger has the opportunity to Distant Thunder one of these tokens. Ooh, that's a pretty good draw, actually. The Portal Fracture will get some tokens on the board, and it'll eat this Distant Thunder if Dodger decides to cast it without discarding. I'll be interested if we even see this Deformed Sanity get cast this game. Like, maybe Dodger draws a land here. No. So this Deformed Sanity is just going to sit in Dodger's hand and cost him 2 life from the Bloodjade Prophet. I think it was really not that good of a pickup. Maybe he's going to Distant Thunder, discarding the Deformed Sanity, just treating it like any other card. This game is very much turned into a race. So that 2 life could very well matter here, especially with 2 tokens coming off of this Portal Fracture, and Dodger losing the race on board as is. So this Portal Fracture is gonna hit a spell. He has to cast something, or else he will just die. So Dodger's gonna unearth a Dusk Lieutenant. And Pip's not going to do anything about that, which is probably the right play. You don't want to just get the tokens here. The question is Dodger going to cast another spell? He could cast either one of these cards, discarding the other. I think you don't. I don't know why you would. Bloodjade Prophet probably crashes in for 4. Dusk Lieutenant can block either of these 2 tokens. Weird to see Dodger tanking here. I don't know what he's thinking about. I guess he's deciding whether or not to cast this Deformed Sanity Maybe he's deciding whether or not to attack. Neither of those seems like that difficult of a decision to me. Like, if you're worried you're going to die to a burn spell, hold up Distant Thunder. Don't attack with Blood Jade Prophet. It looks like that's what he's going to do. So that actually puts Pip in a pretty bad situation. Both of the spells in her hand are really reactive. Dodger has 2 4/2s in play, and the ability to clear off one of these 1/1s if he so chooses. He's going to be able to strip a card from from Pip's hand with this Omen. So this game has angled back towards Pip, and the second Dusk Lieutenant here. So we're going to have to see if Dodger's going to try to run this out right now. I have to imagine he does, because if Pip's hand is just a couple of spell stutters, he can strip them both with the Dusk Lieutenant and sacrifice Omen. We know that's not exactly going to work. But I'd be surprised if he doesn't. No, it looks like so he is just going to strip one card with the Omen. And he's going to discard the Dusk Lieutenant. That's interesting. So Dodger has a couple of interesting lines here. I think attack with both creatures is probably what we're going to see. No, just one? So the question is, does Pip decide to block? She doesn't. I think if Dodger attacked with both creatures, she might have. But Dodger's trying not to die to a burn spell. So I expect now to see him just leave up Distant Thunder. I think that if you decide not to attack with Blood Jade Prophet, you're selling out on not dying to 3 damage. So holding up the Distant Thunder, or I guess casting the Shingen Renegade, would both get you there. Although casting Shingen Renegade runs directly into this Portal Fracture, and Dodger doesn't just die, but he's put in a much worse situation. And he does just die to a top deck burn spell in that case. This Deform Sanity continues to rot in Dodger's hand. Could have been at 6 life. So Dodger's going to Distant Thunder, discarding the Shingen Renegade, kill one of the tokens. And that's going to eat the Portal Fracture, which I assume Dodger's just going to pay for here. I personally would rather have the Shingen Renegade still in graveyard and the token dead. So he's going to pay for it. So now he is dead to a burn spell. He does still have this Deform Sanity in hand to no value. Wouldn't be dead otherwise. Pip bricks. So Dodger's going to get another turn here. I don't think Pip has anything to do in her graveyard either. No, so she just played the land just so it didn't get stripped out of her hand by Dusk Lieutenant, I suppose. Dodger has a Deform Sanity he can't cast, an Ambitious Necromancer with nothing that he can target Pip with, although theoretically he could go Necromancer and then next turn Deform Sanity, discard nothing to get Pip's nothing. It's possible she draws a counterspell. But this game has officially come down to the top deck. Interesting to see what Pip does here. Yeah, she's going to play to her outs. 1 token dies. Dodger has 1 chump blocker here, or 1 blocker rather. It's not a chump on a 1/1. He's going to be able to flashback the Shingen Renegade as well. And there's the burn spell, one turn too late. So Pip now has to... I assume it's going to be... Well, depends on what Dodger does. But this Rogger's Frenzy is going to kill either Dusk Lieutenant or Bloodjade Prophet. Probably Bloodjade Prophet. Because it's less potent to be unearthed, seeing as Dodger has very little life. Each of these tokens is going to have to block a creature. Probably 1/1 in front of the Revive token, 1/1 in front of the Dusk Lieutenant. And then Pip's going to get to flashback Roger's Frenzy to get some tokens and try again to hit on her next turn. So she's not strictly dead here. If Dodger bricks, which he kind of did, the Ambitious Necromancer doesn't do anything to add to this board. He does have a free attack with everything. Even against Roger's Frenzy. I guess maybe Cane Dancer slightly worse, so he doesn't run in the Ambitious Necromancer. But you're going to see at least the 4/2, 4/2, and 3/1 attack here, I have to imagine. Being at 4 life is sticky. And it is possible... Well, no, Pip's going to keep herself at 4. There's no way that she goes down below 4 in case Dodger just drew a Distant Thunder or Fiery Temper. But this last game has really come down to the wire. This is a very interesting set. So Dodger is going to send in everything. And the Rogger's Frenzy is going to get pointed at one of these 4/2s. Yep, at Bloodjade Prophet, just as I expected. And then token on 4/2, token on... Ooh, token on the 1/1, interesting. So Pip's going to go to 1. And Pip is basically just dead. Unless she draws some interaction. The Roger's Frenzy will buy her another turn. And it can trade with the 1/1 and the 3/1. So if she draws some interaction here, this game's not over. Whew! Okay, that's some interaction. But she didn't draw burn, so this is going to now be true top decks. Dodger's checking the list to see what Pip might have drawn there. But what's going to happen is Dodger's going to probably take 1 block with the Necromancer, assuming that Pip doesn't have anything that can block 2 creatures. I guess, no, there's no bounty, yeah. So he's just actually going to take 2, because there's no reason not to. 2 and 3 are functionally the same. So now Pip's going to wrath the board with Sheldron's Rage. Everything is dead, and Dodger gets the first top deck. Dodger's a little deeper in his deck, but has a few more lands left in deck, so at this point, I think it's about 50-50. A Distant Thunder wins it off the bat for Dodger. A miss and then a Roger's Frenzy wins it off the bat for Pip. Performer of Ambition means Pip's back on a 1-turn clock. Can she draw an Ignition Point? Nope. She draws a counterspell, and this game is over. And Dodger has won. The plot armor continues to be just as strong as ever. This was a great set. Both players played really tight. There are a couple of lines that I think are questionable, but man, at the end of the day, this is just a great match. Great match of Magic, and Dodger's going to head to the finals to face off against Splash Cat and the Leyline Alignment Field combo deck. that was a fantastic set, both of y'all. Thanks to anybody who's watching, and hopefully I will see you guys again for the finals. Have a great night.